Mowing down trees, flooding streets, and battering buildings, Hurricane Patricia plowed into Mexico as a Category 5 storm on Friday evening before gritting inland. It rapidly lost power in the mountains that rise up along the Pacific coast and was downgraded to a tropical storm by Saturday morning. So far, it appeared that major damage had been averted because the powerful storm did not hit large population centers. Thousands of residents and tourists ended up in improvised shelters, but there were no early reports of fatalities and many felt they had escaped lightly. At one point generating sustained winds of 200 miles per hour, Patricia was the strongest hurricane ever recorded in the Western Hemisphere.
The electoral campaign for the upcoming presidential elections in Argentina has come to an end. The main candidates held closure rallies where they seek to establish the main differences among them. The candidate for the right-wing front, UNA, Sergio Massa, based his campaign around public safety and corruption.
I am going to lead a federal security council, and I am not going to do what they do today to avoid responsibility. Me, I am personally going to be at the front line of the fight against drug trafficking and crime in Argentina.
The Buenos Aires city mayor and presidential nominee for the main right-wing coalition Cambiemos, Mauricio Macri, called for a change that would mean a political turn to the right in social and foreign policies and for the end of political confrontation.
From December 10th onwards, there will only be one team, the one that wants Argentina to do better and Argentinians to do better, and no more confrontation, no more divisions. I am committed to unite all Argentinians.
The candidate for the ruling Front for Victory, Daniel Scioli, had a very different speech where he claimed he would continue with wealth distribution policies and Latin American integration.
Hoy más que nunca, reafirmo mi compromiso que mi prioridad.
Today, I want to reinforce my commitment for which my priorities will be the poor, the workers, and the middle class by strengthening the domestic market and popular consumption, which are the cornerstones of this model.
According to several polls, Daniel Scioli is likely to reach more than 40% of the vote. If the second runner fails to come closer than 10 points from Scioli, the Front for Victory will hold the presidency for one more term. Laureano Ponce, teleSUR, Buenos Aires.
75 international observers from 23 different countries have arrived in Colombia as the country gears up for crucial polls that many believe could be the last regional and local elections amidst a 5 decades-long armed conflict.
The results of these elections are going to set up the political scenario that will necessarily accompany the peace process. A peace process that UNASUR and the countries of South America have carefully followed and enthusiastically contributed to within the context of the integration of our countries.
The peace process had been central to almost every campaign, not only because many of those up for election will take seats in the regions most affected by the conflict, but also because it will be under their responsibility to guarantee proper conditions for the victims, as well as for those expected to lay down arms after a final peace deal.
These elections come in the wake of a transition from a prolonged war to the construction of peace. Those to be elected for public institutions and executive positions will play a crucial role in the endorsement and the effective implementation of the peace agreements.
Even though the elections will take place amidst a historic lull in violence, corruption and risk of fraud have exposed frightening figures. 90% of the candidates have prosecution investigations, and an estimated $170 million are expected to be circulating for vote buying, a situation that has overwhelmed the institutional capability of response.
If we don't resolve those problems, then we might have solved the issue of the armed conflict, but the fragility of the political and electoral system will continue to be the same, and the illegitimacy and disbelief that many sectors of the society have towards the electoral system will also prevail. and that's a very serious problem in a post-conflict scenario.
Many have pointed out the need to reshape Colombia's electoral system in order to guarantee not just transparency, but an equal and fair participation of all actors, plus the new political forces that will come into play after the peace process. Natalia Margarita, teleSUR, Bogotá.
The first World Indigenous Games kicked off in northern Brazil Friday. 24 Brazilian ethnicities and indigenous groups from 23 other countries are participating in the World Indigenous Games. Brazil's President Dilma Rousseff also arrived in the northern state of Tocantins. Latin American ethnicities were widely represented, while also joined by groups from Mongolia, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Canada, New Zealand and Russia, among others.
I didn't know there were so many indigenous people in the world. I thought there were only Brazilian indigenous groups. But today I have discovered that there are indigenous people outside of Brazil too. These games are very important for us indigenous people to show our culture. We are preparing ourselves because we know there are difficult days ahead, especially with the football, for both men and women. We are preparing and getting ourselves ready as is fit. And just as every country wants to come out triumphant, which is what we will do.
A Russian parliamentarian delegation met with Syrian Parliament Speaker Mohammed Jihad al-Laham on Saturday during a visit to Syria. The delegation, headed by Duma Council member Sergei Garvilov, who said the Syrian president's recent visit to Moscow had opened up new opportunities to find a political solution to the Syrian war, now in its 5th year.
We consider that the meeting between President Bashar al-Assad and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, gave new ways for political and economic solutions for the crisis.